Alright guys, another Amazon special today. We'll zoom out, there you go. Got me, it's called a budget boost. So you got coil spacers for the front. Notice the flat part that goes against the frame rail. And this part with the lip, I believe, faces down. So, pretty straightforward. And the back, you can either do blocks, but I got shackles. It was $84 for this entire kit. It even came with the hardware for the shackles, a bunch of bolts and nuts. And so this is about a 3-inch lift, and on the back it's adjustable. So I have to do some measurements, see which hole I need. I believe I need the top one. And it hangs down pretty low, so it sits right about somewhere in here. So it might hit the exhaust pipe, so worst case I'll just have to cut it back here somewhere. I mean, I don't care if I cut it. You don't want to see it anyway. So, worst case, I'll just do that. So, not a big deal. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. Got the other shackle. You got the other spacer. So, if you come over here, where the undercarriage is, the puck goes in here. So, to remove this axle, you take this nut off, or you could take it off from the bottom. You could probably do it from here, probably easier. Disconnect your sway bar, disconnect your shocks. When you have a stock vehicle, you're going to want to remove the shocks and the sway bar, because those two are what hold up the axle from dropping the distance you want it in order to get your spring spacer in here. And I also recommend you remove your brake line, either from the frame. I recommend you remove the caliper down here, remove it altogether, so you don't worry about ripping the hose and puncturing it at all. And once you lift it, you're going to want to come here and loosen these, they look like 14-inch bolts. And you're going to want to move it whatever direction you need to move it in order to get your steering wheel straight. Because once you drop it, it's going to bring the drag link forward, and it's going to move your steering wheel, and your steering wheel won't be centered anymore. I'm only doing a 3-inch lift, so I don't have to worry about it being too out of adjustment. But just a little bit of adjustment will be needed. And I don't have 4-wheel drive, but I will soon, so I don't have the drive shaft to worry about. Alright, here it is next day. So be sure you remove your brake line. It's just a little Allen head bolt. Just pop that out so you have some slack. Take those two 13mm bolts off. Go ahead and remove this little spring tab, 13mm as well. And get some spring tensioners. But if you have a hydraulic jack, you can lift your car up and you just let the axle fall, but I wasn't able to do that since I'm working on the ground. So here you have the coil spring. It was kind of hard to get on there, but I'm hoping I can get the spring on there once I get the puck on there. If not, I have to compress the spring some more. If anything, you can cut right here at this lip here, because you don't need any of this excess anyway. It's just basically a bump stop, but you don't really need it. So it's just a suggestion. Okay, so once you get your spring compressed, it's under a lot of tension, so just be careful. Come under here, go and put your puck on. I believe this side right here faces the bottom. The flat side goes against the frame, like that. You shut up in there like that and hold it. Go and put your coil spring in. Okay, got the spring in. So once you get it in, it's a pain in the ass. Go ahead and take these two spring tensioners off and make sure your thing is flat. But my shock towers have enough clearance to where I don't really need them that much. So just adjust them to your will and put it on, make sure everything lines up. Be sure the spring on the bottom here touches the tab, the little spring tab that bolts on to the axle. Alright, as far as back goes, should be relatively easy. Just put your shackle, take the old one out, loosen this bolt, and loosen the bolt up top there. Might have to come on the outside. Yeah, right there. And loosen that one, and the whole shackle should just come off. Put your new one on, figure out which hole you need to put it in, either the upper or down, and just go from there. Alright, here's the finished product. It's been a couple days since the lift was been done. I got the tires put on yesterday. 15-inch rims by 32-inch tires, and I think it's like maybe 12 inches wide, something like that. So come under here, got the Quill spacer, 3 inches. Sway bar, the shocks went right on. I mean, they're a little higher than normal, but I mean, they don't bottom out or anything going down the road because shocks are in fairly good shape, so they're still very responsive. It's not bouncy or anything, so I don't have to worry about any suspension noises or anything like that. And then as far as under here goes, I didn't have to do anything to the drag length because I got a track bar on here, so unless I get a longer track bar, then I have to adjust it. But since they're both the same length, because that's how they designed it in the factory, you don't have to worry about any steering adjustments at all. And here's the brake line. I was able to bolt it back up to the frame. I only did a 3-inch lift, so I didn't have to like leave it off and dangling. I didn't have to extend the brake line or anything. I turned it, both ways, all the way till it maxes out. The brake line still has, fairly good slack. It doesn't get hung up on the tire. It doesn't rub, doesn't, get tight when I turn it or anything. So I was able to put it back on the frame. So that was one good thing. I didn't have to modify it all. If you go any bigger than this, I recommend you get an extension for your brake line. The back is doing pretty good. Didn't have to do any trim on the fenders. I don't hear it rub. I don't hear it make any noises. Come back here. You got your shackle. Come up here, you got your Zerk fitting. I have to grease it up here in a couple more days. And got the bolt here. You can adjust it to whatever you want. This, if you tow a lot, then put it on the bottom hole because it gives you more ride travel. But I want mine to be level, so I put it on the top hole. So, also another thing you want to look out for is your exhaust pipe. I had to bend mine to the left because it kept hitting this, so every time I take off I hear it rattle against here. So when the engine's at idle, I'll just hear it clank against this shackle. So either you cut the shackle if you're not going to use this, or you just bend the exhaust pipe. Some people cut the exhaust pipe back here, but I don't feel like cutting it. I mean, it's just fine the way it is, so I'm just going to leave it as it is. So yeah, as far as clearance goes, I have a pretty fair amount of clearance. Once again, no rubbing. Clears very nice. My shocks are still good, so I don't have to worry about it bouncing, hitting the flares. And you come on the front, I had to do a little bit of trimming. I had to trim this bottom piece, and there was a little plastic shield skirt that went all the way across here. But I just cut it off with an X-Acto knife, and I cut the excess plastic of the fender that came down like this, and cut that piece off, and that cleared the front. But on the back, I had to trim off a little bit as well right here, because when I turn, the outside of the tire would rub against here, and you would hear it, rub against the tread. Same with the front. I just had to nick off just the edge right here, but I mean, it wasn't too much. I only had to cut off the plastic piece, but as far as the metal goes, I didn't really have to cut a whole lot of metal, because every time I would turn, the bolt would break off of this flare, and it would just like flap around every time I turn. So I cut it, now it clears the tire, now it's perfect. So that about does it for the clearance issue I have. Overall, turned out really nice. I like it. Definitely do the job for now. I don't think these are all-terrain, but I mean, it'll do the job for now. They look really good. So also I did a wheel spacer, a 1.5-inch wheel spacer, aluminum, on Amazon for 46 bucks for all four. The thing with the wheel spacers I got is that they're hub centric, so you have like a lip on the outer piece of the hub. It will have like this sleeve ring looking thing, and if you have hub centric wheels, they'll be able to slide on top of that, and the hub will center the rim you have. But these aren't hub centric. These rely on the lug nuts to center the wheel, so I don't need hub centric spacers. So I had to cut off that excess in order to get the wheels on correctly. Otherwise, they wouldn't go on flat, and they'll be off balance, and they'll waddle back and forth every time I drove. So I caught that before I got too far down the road. So I cut off that excess sleeve, and now it sits flush, and now it rides perfect. So that about wraps up this lift video. It pretty much does it. So more videos will definitely be on the way. So if you like this one, give it a thumbs up. share and subscribe, and stay tuned. Thanks for watching.